Hello everyone. This is my Microsoft Surface RT. This is if you're unfamiliar with this computer, this is the first Microsoft Surface ever made, and it's kind of different from the Surface Pro that you would get today in that it doesn't have a conventional x86 processor like you would find in most other computers. Instead, it has an ARM processor, actually an NVIDIA Tegra 3 that you would find, that's a similar architecture of one in your phone or your tablet. And this computer has a custom version of Windows called Windows RT, and it looks exactly like Windows 8. The only difference really is that it can't run basically any program. By default, it can only run whatever it comes with plus whatever you can get on the Windows Store. And that was always slim pickings even when this computer was new. Thankfully, there is a jailbreak available for this device, and I've done that, but that only allows you to run some programs that are specifically compiled to work on this ARM processor. And I've found quite a few, but there aren't many out there, and really Windows 8 is just kind of outdated nowadays, and they never made Windows RT 10. However, they did make another version of Windows 10 that is for ARM processors. But the problem with that is this computer is 32-bit only, and they only ever made a 64-bit version. Or so people thought. Because recently, a leaked build of Windows 10 compiled for 32-bit ARM processors has been discovered. And it's from about 2016. And guess what? People have gotten it to work on this computer. So today, I'm going to see if I can make this thing a little bit more up-to-date, better to use, and a little bit less confusing with the Windows 10 interface as opposed to Windows 8. I also assume that we'll be able to unlock some more recent Windows Store programs. I've got the ISO image on this USB drive, and I've got everything that I had on here backed up. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a general overview on this project, and then I'm going to get it actually installed on this computer and we'll see how it runs. Okay, here's the wiki page for this project. And they've actually got a couple of other things running. When I first got my Surface RT in 2017, there wasn't much development on getting a different OS to run on it. There had been some exploits for the bootloader discovered, if I remember correctly, but nobody had done much actual development work, so basically the only option was Windows RT. However, a lot of progress has been made in the past year, and they've actually gotten not only Windows 10 to work, but also Linux. And Linux is actually mostly working. It boots, it works up just fine. Well, it's not quite ready yet though. For example, the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth don't work, as well as the keyboard. So I may look into this more when it's more complete. Development is happening very quickly and they've been making a lot of progress, but for now it's looking like the best option would be this leaked version of Windows 10. Now, this should work on the original Surface RT, which I have, as well as the Surface RT 2. Now that device is a year newer. It has a much higher resolution screen. It's, I believe, 1080p as opposed to 1366 by 768. And it's got some other small improvements to that, but both of the devices are functionally basically identical. So there's a link on the XDA forum of this tool somebody has made, and that lets you basically create your own USB. It lets you pick what preloaded apps you want installed, if you want Microsoft Office, what language. I'll throw up a couple screenshots on here, but it's super easy to use and it creates a full working USB of Windows 10, and it even makes the USB drive for you. In the description for this video, I'll have this page linked on here, and this will have the full instructions for how to do this. As well as that, there's also a YouTube tutorial, and I'm going to put the link to that as well. And this basically is the process to exploit the secure boot system and allow it to boot from this USB. Apparently the Surface RT doesn't actually require it, but some people need it. I'm going to try skipping it for now, but if I need to come back and do it, I will go ahead and do that. Basically, it just says, you know, make the installer image with the tool, write it to a flash drive, and then you can just basically go ahead and do it. Now, it goes into a little bit more detail here about what software is supported. Basically, it comes with the final version of the Microsoft Store app known to work, and it's also got, you know, the built-in apps. And like I mentioned earlier, it does install the copy of Office 2013 that was built into Windows RT. There are a couple of issues here. The main two are that user account control doesn't work, as well as the cameras, but those can both be fixed pretty easily. And then there's just a couple very small things that shouldn't really affect it, and some, you know, tiny little programs that don't work that I'm probably not going to need anyway. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this booted and installed on the Surface. So basically what I'm going to have to do is hold down the volume down key and just turn it on, and it should automatically detect and boot the USB drive. And the access indicator is flashing, and we have the boot logo. So let's go ahead and wait a couple of seconds. I'm assuming I'll just see the little spinner pop up, and then it'll go to the Windows setup, and I'll come back when I'm at that screen. Okay, well that was quite fast, and it looks like it has worked. We are now in the Windows pre-installation environment. We have a copyright date here of 2017, and I'm pretty sure the Windows 8 setup actually said Windows 8 instead of just Windows here, so. Okay, so let's get this installed now. And this is, you know, pretty typical for the Windows 10 setup. This is, you know, basically what it's looked like since Windows Vista or Windows 7, so. Okay, so that is a very short license agreement. I assume this is some kind of, you know, insider build. And, yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and wipe the drive. I have everything important on there backed up anyway. So I guess I'll just, Well, I guess it'll recreate all these partitions. I don't think it's going to be that bad of an idea to just get rid of them. The one thing I'm looking forward to definitely on here is the only web browser that was compatible with Windows RT at all was Internet Explorer. So yeah, I'm glad to not have to deal with that anymore. You know, Microsoft Edge is going to be slightly better at least. We'll see. I don't know if it'll have the new Edge or the old Edge, but whatever it is, it'll definitely be better. But anyway, it looks like we are somewhat going. It'll go to the screen, you know, with the 5 checkboxes, and then it should restart, and then we should be in Windows. So I'm not going to bore you with this whole process, and I'll just come right back when that's done. Alright, well I would assume this would be the last stage in this screen. So I guess we're pretty close to actually seeing Windows 10 run. Now this build is, as I mentioned, from 2016. It's based on the Windows 10 anniversary update. It's actually in between the anniversary update and the creators update. So it's not going to be completely up to date, but it'll be much better than what we had before. And while this is obviously nowhere near official, it is tested, and people have been actively working on it. In fact, the latest version was released just 4 days ago as I'm recording this, so this is getting actively worked on. And I'm really glad to see this device that was kind of forgotten for many years now getting its retribution and being able to run some more software than what it was capable of originally. I would be interested in seeing Android on here. I don't know if that would be a possibility or if anybody is considering working on it right now. Now this computer, you know, is from 2012, so, and it only has 2 gigabytes of RAM and 32 gigabytes of storage, so it's never going to be that fast, but hopefully it'll be much more useful than it was before. Okay, this is the setup screen. Oh. I don't know what that means. Something went wrong. Yeah. Oh, never mind. It works, I think.
Hi there. I'm Cortana.
Oh,
and
God.
I'm here to help. A little sign in
No.
here, a touch of Wi-Fi there, and we'll have your PC ready for all you...
Oh God, please turn off. Also, whenever I click the touchpad, there's like an audible click sound that's played through the speakers that it didn't have before. Well, we can check out Task Manager. Yeah, this is Windows 10. Wow, that is kind of annoying. And as you can see, NVIDIA Tegra 3, 2 gigabytes of DDR3, and the 32 gigabyte drive.
You can use your voice or the keyboard along the way, and if you...
There we go. I wonder if this will work with my Microsoft account, if it'll let me sign in. I know app updates are kind of disabled automatically. And okay, now we're in the setup. Let's see if the Wi-Fi works. I seem to remember it should. But overall, this is just, regular Windows 10 setup. So I'm just going to skip past it in case anything unless anything interesting happens. So when we're at the desktop, I will come back. Alright, well, here we are at the desktop of Windows 10 on the Surface RT, and it looks like it has, it's mostly working. If I open up settings here, yes, this is Windows 10 settings, and, oh yeah, I need to activate it. Now this should have a product key built into the BIOS, and I kind of forgot to look up what it was. So it's possible I might have to reinstall this. I'm not looking forward to that if I do. But yeah, for the most part, this is functional. We are getting Microsoft Office on here, and we do have, the Windows 10 Action Center. And I can go into tablet mode here. Nice. One thing I want to do, if I turn this off, I'd be interested to see if I disconnect from the keyboard, will it automatically go into tablet mode? And hey, it will. Nice. So that didn't exist in Windows 8. It was just, basically always tablet mode. But now that we do have the regular start menu, that is super nice. Let's see if we have an internet connection here. And immediately it's giving me an ad for Microsoft Edge. I doubt this will work. But yeah, when Office setup is done, I will come back to you and we can see what else we can get done. Okay, so I've been using Windows 10 on the Surface RT for about a day now, and just to get a kind of feel of it and what worked on it, So basically what I found is that this is an old enough version of Windows 10 where that some new apps will work, but most of them will not unless you specifically hunt out an old version. Like for example, if I go to the Microsoft Store here, you'll be able to see that most of the apps that I have purchased on my Microsoft account just do not work at all. And some of them, like Spotify here, I can click on the download button, but then it just doesn't work at all. Now, to get the Microsoft Store working on here, for some reason, well, this is a beta version of Windows, so apparently it wouldn't come with a Microsoft Store. And however, I did build the app pack into the installer when I chose all the options, but for some reason it only installed like 2 or 3 apps out of the 20 that it was supposed to. So what I did is I just downloaded the app package and I went into the Microsoft Store and I opened up PowerShell, and there's a command that you can just run to install an Apex package, and I did that for the Windows Store as well as the Store Purchase app. And then I went back in here and there's another one called Desktop App Installer, and that is the program you see here where it lets you install an Apex package, and that'll let you download all of the other programs that were made by Microsoft on here, and if you find another Windows Store app online, then you can install it like that. So now this is in basically a fully functional state on Windows 10. It is, I found, noticeably slower than Windows RT. Not that Windows RT was particularly fast in the first place, but you know, the interface is a little bit more choppy with the blur effects. I'm sure if I turn them off, then it would run better, but still. Pretty much all of the apps that I had working on Windows RT continue to work just fine here. Like here's Rufus. Here's 7-Zip. You know, just kind of basic programs like this. And then all of the Microsoft apps, people have found older versions that work just fine. Now there is a Discord for this, where people are sharing new apps they build and links to resources and stuff. I would highly recommend you join that if you install this on your own device. And that has been super helpful. I was able to find a Discord client, Unicord, that works. It's a little bit slow, but you know, it works okay. So yeah, there's a Discord client, and apparently there's a working version of Telegram as well. Now the web browser situation is slightly improved from Windows RT in that it is Microsoft Edge now as opposed to Internet Explorer, which is an improvement, but you do not get the new Edge, and you still can't install, you know, Chrome or Firefox or anything. Now, one thing that I found that was actually unsurprising is this is Bexeter, which is a kind of improved version of Notepad that I made in Visual Basic a few years ago. And I didn't even realize this at the time, but it runs just fine on ARM because it's, you know, in Visual Basic as opposed to, you know, C or another programming language. And yeah, I can just use this just fine. So this is on my website if anybody wants to install it and use it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But other than that, you know, there isn't a ton of really useful stuff that you can do on here. Microsoft Edge is usable, but I found it's quite slow, and YouTube is not really that usable. There is a YouTube app I found called MyTube that I actually used in Windows RT before, but it seems to be broken now. It can load details about videos. You know, I can see subscriptions and all that. However, I can't actually watch them. There's just an error. You know, if I click on this video, it'll make an attempt to play it, but it will not actually be able to. It'll just load forever and then error out. So if you want to watch YouTube, that might not be quite so viable. But, you know, all in all, this is a completely working version of Windows 10. I've had no issues with the hardware at all. The activation issue I had yesterday just fixed itself after a restart, and it's performant enough to be usable, not incredibly fast. And the shortcut keys built into the Surface keyboard, these ones right here, those ones all still work just fine, as well as the backlighting and everything else. So hardware is no issue. But yeah, I'm content with this. I think, overall it is an improvement over Windows RT. And that was just a little overview of this weird unknown version of Windows 10 on the Surface RT. Alright, hope you enjoyed, everyone.